question, if
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
okay.
sure. Yeah, please.
Regarding that, because I'm thinking about this as a very small startup, right? And one of the biggest problems I always see in startups is what type of culture do you want to have at the very beginning? Because it takes time to build the culture, and it's so easy to break it.
Absolutely.
So
I
what
like
kind
it.
of culture should we should we promote? Is it the culture where everybody has autonomy, where they take their own decisions, and we just like for example, someone does, or like there are some no-nos, and if someone did it, we just kick them out of the group? Like, what kind of the culture that we should have as a, you know what I mean?
I see. Yeah. So in general, I think based on my experience, the things that are, again, it depends on like, what you can tolerate and what, what's best as well, right? And then obviously, so there's two ways of thinking about it. Like, one is your own personality and the personality of the leadership team. And then the second thing is also, the people that are around you and what would deliver most value to them, right? So based on, these factors, things that are, important to me are as follows, right? So I don't want, I think for me, one of my biggest pet peeve is people who come in and don't do the work, right? I don't want them to be in the core group. They can be in the general group, but I don't want them to be in the core group, because what would happen, let's say if we have a group, right? It's 3 of us, right? And then you guys are updating every week that, hey, yeah, I called my convert, or I did my training, right? And I'm not updating. So, so that means now, the culture is going like that, right? I mean, at work, everybody does the status update and whatnot. So that's very important for me. So I think that would be the key thing, like, just having that sort of initiative and focus. And, if you have taken on that project, you're not diluting your attention to something else. It's not like, okay, I'll get to it when I have time and whatnot, because then, it just affects it. I would rather have one guy to work with than 5 guys who are like, on and off. So that's me, right? I mean, somebody can argue that, with the 5 guys on and off, you could have like, more productivity potentially. Yeah. But like, I mean, that's not like, I think it's just going to cause me more headache than, so it's not my style. I'd rather not work with that team. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, and another thing I would tell them is that, look, this is also training for you, right? Because if you learn these values and these core skills and these habits, it will help you in other areas of your life as well, right? Because if you have this habit that you're signing up for 10 projects to volunteer, and then, you're all over the place, then, it's going to affect you in your work life and your personal life and everything else as well, because you will get stressed out.
Yeah.
So that is another thing that I may have conversation with the coaches, that look, why are you signing up for 10 other projects, right? And then, because we don't want them to personally burnt out, right? I mean, their family life is suffering, or their parents, or their relationships, or their own education, or even their work, right? So, we do keep an eye on that. Like, look, we want your success. And, if this is a project, if you know that you can hardly make 4 hours of volunteering time, so maybe just sign up for 2 things, this and something else, for example, right? But if you're signing up for 5 projects, everyone expecting you to at least have 2 or 3 hours, then, it's going to have an impact. Helping them understand, for example, why is any of the processes important, right? So let's say if you have a HubSpot process or whatever processes you guys put in, sometimes people may not understand, why they have to do it. And I'm like, hey, how long does it take you for you to do this? Like 10 minutes, right? But let's take a look at the benefits of this. When you are sitting down at the end of the week and you are updating HubSpot, or you're updating the WhatsApp group, it also gives you a chance to reflect on how was the week for you, right? What can you do better for this person in the next week, and so on and so forth. So it's a good quality to have. And as you build this habit for this project, you can hopefully do the same thing for everything else in your life, and you can do your own self-review and how are other areas of your life going, right? So this would be my thing, like, basically commitment, and then communication, right? Other things are like, sometimes some other teams are very inefficient in terms of, so let's say people not showing up in time for a meeting, right? So I would always go for, let's say if I'm saying the meeting is starting at 10 o'clock, then it should start at 10 o'clock. If somebody doesn't come in, they lose. I mean, I don't want to have the other people waiting for someone who's not showing up on time. Right. And this is another, great book from a business perspective. What you do is who you are, right? So this is by this A16Z venture capitalist guys. And one of the things they would say that, look, if a founder is coming to meet you up and you're not showing up on time, then, you know, you pay like $100 for every 5 minutes or something like that, right? Because, you know, we want to show the founders that we respect their time, right? And why are you guys not showing up on time, right? So things like that, I mean, which people can say, oh, it's very strict or crazy, but then again, it's your choice, right? I mean, what kind of culture you want to develop. And if somebody's late, you know, it's a genuine reason, then that's fine. But people, I mean, like even like, you know, when we do this workshops, like subhanAllah, we did the last one, the one we did previously, not the one with you guys, the one before, you know, we were starting, let's say at 10 o'clock, but we started at 10:30, right? And one of the sisters came in, they're like, you know, we are here on time, and, you know, why are we waiting for people who didn't show up, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously, I mean, I told the organizers, I'm like, you know, I don't want to like, you know, go over the organizers and whatnot. So I think one of the things that I try to do now is if it's like an in-person workshop, for example, I try to have something special, like a small breakfast or something like that. That's only for the first 10 or 15 minutes of that workshop. So if we think that, yeah, we have to wait 15 minutes, I'd rather give them some value for coming in on time than say, hey, okay, let's wait for those who did not come on time, right? So things like that. I mean, this is the type of culture I like to have. Like meeting time, right? So if there's a meeting, I would rather have it, you know, like sometimes some groups will be like, oh, let's have a meeting tomorrow. Like, what? You're going to give like 24 hours for a meeting? You know, if it's an emergency, it's a different thing. But if it's a regular thing, have it, you know, everybody block your first Sunday of the month or second Sunday of the month, whatever, and you should block it, right? Things like that are, you know, what are important to me. And then also like, you know, personal learning and, you know, commitment for personal growth in Deen and Dunya.
Got you. And like, for example, do you have to have difficult discussions of, like, let's assume one person, he's doing good with the volunteers or like with the new Muslims, but they don't show up on time, they don't update, they, you know what I mean? Like they're just difficult to handle in the leadership side, but they're good with the volunteers. They're good with the new Muslims.
Right. Yeah. So that's what happened, right? So I do then, you know, pull them on the side and have this conversation. And this is a classic, you know, theme in many books as well, right? I mean, do you have some divas in your group, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, I mean, again, there are differences out there, right? Some people say, no, let's get rid of them. Some people say that the person has to be really, really good. You know, you only stop the bus for only one superstar, right? So,
yeah.
so something that you would have to make a hard choice on. But in general, what I would also do is like, I would, you know, get them on the side and I would say, look, you know, you're doing great. And, you know, and that's like a, you know, part of your monthly review, what have you. And here are some of the concerns that I have. And you can try to figure out a way that, you know, that they can understand why those processes are important. Because, you know, say, look, you know, you're doing great, but imagine, you know, you updating can actually motivate other people, right? And that's because a lot of people don't understand what's the importance of a team. Well, there's many importance of a team. First of all, it keeps you in check, right? Like right now, you know, I could be doing other things. The reason I'm on this call is because of being part of a team, right? I mean, so it kind of keeps you, it makes it easier for you to be disciplined. And, you know, people can say, yeah, I'm very self-disciplined, but every now and then people have these downtimes where they may, you know, not do something. But if you're in a part of a team, then it will keep you disciplined. Second thing is it can help you scale, right? So how many converts can I work with, you know, as a single person? But if I really want to scale, that's why I'm into this now, teaching and training without leaving the actual work on the ground. That's also very important. Many people say, oh yeah, okay, now I'm just going to work with this, but then you actually lose touch with what's happening on the ground. So, you know, you can motivate that, hey, you know, with your communication, it can actually help our team, right? There's another tricky stuff that can be done, right? So sometimes, let's say, you know, if it's hard for someone to do some of the process work and the person is really a superstar, you know, we can always find, let's say, someone to assist them, right? So, hey, you know what, well, can you send a voice note to such and such person, right? And then that, by the way, I haven't used that, but I'm just saying you as a hack, right? And then that person can actually update your stuff, right? So if you think the person is really good and you want to make that sort of, you know, yeah. So there's no like one right answer that I've got, but great question.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you some of the resources that are there that we may not have seen, and then Okay, so let's get out of the full screen mode. There we go. Okay, so slowly loading. Yeah, I really like this slide. By look, this is very important, guys. We just have to keep watering and supporting our land, right? You guys, we don't control which land is what, but that's not what we really want to do, inshallah. Okay, so here. Okay, what else do we have here? Okay, yeah, so I'm going to, yeah, so this is something Islam uncovered, right? So I think this is very important. I think a simple question that we can ask any da'i or even mentors is, look, if somebody asks you, can you tell me about Islam? I'm not asking you to convince me about Islam,